Hi everyone. Today video is on Web API CRUD operation using NT framework. So in this demo, we are going to use latest .NET 5 framework. Okay. So this is video for absolute beginners to learn about the Web API. Jump into start creating our sample application where we can implement a basic CRUD operation in Web API. Okay. So before going any further, I want to mention that this is my blog. Okay, the entire session, what I am going to explain, has been already furnished into this blog. So the link to this blog will be available in the description section. So if anyone wanted, you can go and check the link as well. Okay. So let's coming to Web API. What is Web API? Okay. So you see here some definition. Web API is a framework for building HTTP services that can be accessed from any client, including browser and mobile devices. So that means API application response can be consumed by any type of client, means either web application or a desktop application or a mobile application. Okay, so that is the benefit of the web API. Okay, next, if you want to know about in simple terminology, okay, in simple terminology, API means an interface module that contains a programming functions that can be requested via HTTP calls to serve the data to the respective clients. So this is an alternative simplified definition in programming terminology. So it is like think like API is a class, and that class will contain set of methods. So each method will be executed per HTTP request from the user. Okay, so each method in that class will be served uh, for the request by the users. Okay, so that is the definition in simple terminology. So let's also check some uh, key features of the web API. Okay, so web API supports HTTP verbs like get, post, put, delete. So what are these HTTP verbs? These HTTP verbs nothing but they define the type of request that can execute the method. I have explained, right? A class that contains set of methods is can be called as a web API. So to invoke a particular method, it depends upon the type of request. Okay, so these are the most commonly used HTTP protocol types, request protocol types that we are going to use in web API. Okay, so supports default response like XML and JSON. So these are the most popular responses. Okay, so XML is quite not using these days. So everyone preferring to use JSON only. Okay, but they support XML and JSON as well. And if you want, you can define your custom responses as well. Okay, so next key feature is it is self-hosted or individual hosting so that all different kinds of apps or clients can be consumed in it. So, so API application is independent of any other application. Okay, it is not mandatory to deploy it deploy the API application under some another application. Okay, it is an independent application so that any kind of website or a web application or a desktop application or a mobile application can utilize the our web API. Okay, so authentication and authorization are easy to implement. So any application authentication and authorization are required and to protect their application. So in web API also it is quite easy to implement the authentication and authorization as well. Okay, so it is the platform for the RESTful services. So by default, web APIs are means for implementing the RESTful services. Okay, so these are the some basic idea on the REST API. So you can uh, see this picture and can have an idea on what is web API. So if you observe, think this box is like a API and this is our backend. It's like any database. So our API communicates for database for fetching the data. see here, different kinds of applications are consuming our API. So that is any kind of application, either a desktop or a mobile or a web application can consume our web API more easily. So that is the benefit of the web API. And in this modern development application, most preferable way of implementing is web API, because mostly everyone are opting for single page applications. So single page applications backend will be always be APIs. Okay, so that's about the intro on web API. So let's now what we will do. We will create a sample application, and using NT framework, we are going to implement some basic CRUD so that we can get an idea on it. Okay. So uh, most priority for creating a web API template is Visual Studio 2019, because .NET 5 only supports by the Visual Studio 2019, that too latest version of the Visual Studio. Okay, so but here I am using another methodology, that is I will going to use CLI comments, .NET CLI comments. Okay, so I'm going to use the IDE like Visual Studio Code. Okay, so you can use either Visual Studio Editor or Visual Studio 2019 to follow my sample application. Okay, so if you are using Visual Studio 2019, on selecting the templates for creating, so there you can see an option like ASP.NET Core dot web application. Okay, like this you can see the template name. So make sure to select that one. Okay, that's it. Let me create my web API project. So this template is named for Visual Studio 19 users. Okay. So I am going to use my .NET CLI command. So this is the CLI command for creating the API project. So .NET means to identify the .NET Core, and a new means I want to create a new project. So type of template, that is web API. Okay, -n means it should be prefixed by the our application name. So that's about the CLI command. So here you can see the message like template ASP.NET Core Web API was successfully created. So in Visual Studio originally you can see this option. Okay, in CLI Web API is the alias name or alias command for this ASP.NET Core Web API. Okay, so let me open my project in .NET Code Editor. Sorry, Visual Studio Code Editor. Okay, this is my project, Web API project. So once go to CS project file, and here you can see .NET 5 target, latest .NET 5 framework. Okay, so before going to creating our CRUD operations, let's get familiar with our API project. So first thing is we should know about the startup. So startup will contain services and middlewares. So the services are helpful for registering for dependency injection, and middlewares are meant for request execution. Okay, so in Web API, main service that here registered is add controllers. So this makes our controllers supports the dependency injection. Okay, and next thing is Swagger. So Swagger is nothing but a documentation tool or a testing tool. By default, .NET Microsoft providing us. So using this tool, we can very easily test our API. So if you don't have this tool, we must depend upon external tools like Fiddler or Postman tools. So now without using the external tools from our application only, in local development, we can easily test our APIs using this Swagger document. So how the Swagger looks like, how it will show the APIs, and how we will test the APIs, I'm going to show in the next steps. Okay. So if you observe here, this configure method will contains all the middlewares. So these middlewares will definitely get executed on every request sequentially. Okay. So if you observe here, condition like development, these middlewares are going to be executed only in development environment. That means for the developers only. In production stage, these middlewares won't execute. So what kind of middlewares are defined in this development condition? So something like some developer exception page. So that page can show full detailed explanation of the errors that happened in our application. So this should be in development mode only, because in production mode, no, we cannot show our error messages or clean error message to the users. Okay, we have to show them the some customized error message. So that's why for development only, this developer exception page we have to see. Okay, next thing is Swagger middlewares. I have mentioned it. Swagger will be a documentation tool. So this tool also we are going to use in development mode only. Okay, next middleware like HTTPS redirection and routing and authorization and endpoint routing. So these are the middlewares. Okay, so routing means it will fetches the all the routes that registered in our application, and endpoint means endpoint going to trigger the uh, requested type of route. Okay, so that's about the startup class. And Web API, I have mentioned, right? Web API is a class that contains set of methods, right? So in Web API terminology, that class can be called as a controller. Okay. So the methods I have mentioned right in the class, those methods are called as actions. So per request, one action will be executed. Okay. So this is the default controller that we are going to bundled up in the API template when we create our project. So what we will do, let's start our application and check the output, what it will show on the first glance. Okay. So I have mentioned, right, Swagger. This is the Swagger UI. Okay. So here you can see weather forecast. This is nothing but a one controller module, this drop down. Okay. Inside that, it will show all the action methods. Okay. So let's test this. Try and you can execute. So it is executed. It is a GET request. Okay. This is the URL. It is requested. Okay. Requested URL. And response 200 means that is successfully uh, respond to our request. And in the response body, you can see. So nowadays, by default, APIs are giving response like JSON. So if you want, you can modify to give XML payload as well. So here you can see. So this is all the static content delivered by the our weather forecast controller. Okay. So that's about the intro of our web API application. Okay. Next thing is uh, so here it is using this weather forecast using some static data. Okay. No, but for our sample, I want to use database and I want to communicate with the database and I want to fetch the database into data into my application. Okay. So for that, so to follow my sample along with me, I have given a sample SQL script. Okay. I have created some sample table like gadgets. Okay. So you can execute this SQL script into your SQL database in your system so that you can follow my steps along with me. Okay. So this SQL script is available in the my blog. You can check over there. Okay. So we are done with the database. So now we have a database. So next thing is, so to communicate with my database, I need some framework with my web API. So that kind of framework is nothing but framework or library is nothing but Entity Framework Core. Okay. So what is Entity Framework Core? So Entity Framework is an object relational mapping framework. Okay. Object relational mapping framework that makes or establish communication with the application and the database. So if you observe this picture, See here, this is our database and this is our application. So entity framework is like a bridge between them. So what we have to do means to consume database into our application using entity framework. Uh, in database, what we will have tables, right? So just now what I have shown some SQL script for gadget script, right? So same equivalent table in our application, we need to create a class. Like I have table like gadgets, right? I need to create a class like gadgets.cs. So in that class, I must have properties that those names are matched with my table column names. Okay, like that in database, whatever tables we have, all those tables must be created as a POCO classes. POCO class means plain object oriented classes. Okay, so POCO class into my uh, application. So now we have all the table classes. So to manage those all table classes, we must have one more parent class that is like database context class. So this context class acts like a database. So entity framework, what it will do, it will use as database context and table classes to communicate with the database. So what it will do, it internally uh, converts the C# expressions or statements into SQL Server commands. Okay, and convert them and execute them against our database and fetches the raw SQL data and convert them back to C# types and return to our application. That's the work done by the NT framework. So we are going to use NT framework for establishing the communication channel with our database. And NT framework can be used in couple of different ways. One such way is like database first approach. Okay. Another thing is code first approach. In the code first approach, there is one more type like code first with existing database. We are going to use code first with existing database. So what is this code first with existing database means? Uh, it is easily can be maintained with the existing database. Okay. So that's the benefit of using the code first with existing database. So we are going to use that technique for communicating with the database. Okay. So first thing is we need to install two NuGet packages. One is NT Framework Core, and then another one is NT Framework Core SQL extension NuGet library. So let's install them. Okay. So one library is Microsoft NT Framework Core. Another library is Microsoft SQL Server. Okay. Let's install them. So Package Manager tab for Visual Studio users. .NET CLI can copy from this tab. So I'm going to copy from this tab. So let's install NT Framework Core. And now let's install SQL Server as well. So we have successfully installed our libraries. So next what you have to do? I have mentioned every table must contain a equivalent class in our project. So let's create the table class. So what I will do, I'm going to create a folder structure like data. Inside data, another folder like entities. Under entities folder, let's create our table class gadget. Okay, so this is our gadget class. So this represents our table. So what it should contain? It should contain properties names that has to match with the names of the table column. Okay, so let's add the property name. So these are all the property names of a gadget class that are equivalent to the table column names. Okay, so I have created my table class. Okay, now I have mentioned, right, all table classes will be managed by one parent class that is called database context class. So the database context class acts like a database. So let's create the database context class. So database context class, let's add under data folder. Okay, So my database name is SQL database name, my old database. So I am going to use name that matches with the database, but you can create any name of your own. Okay, but most recommended or standard way is must almost match with our original database name. Okay, so this is our my old DB contest plain class. Till now it is plain class only. We must uh, make it as a database contest class. Okay, so now it is database context class because a class that want to become a database context class must inherit the DB context. So where this DB context will come from, let's import the namespace. That comes from Microsoft NT Framework Core. See, and this database context class we must create a parameterized constructor that going to take DB context options, and those options must be passed to the base class. Base class nothing but our DB context class. So what these options will contain? These options will contain configuration settings like connection strings, etc. like that. Okay, so these configurations will be explained in the next step how they are going to read by the framework. Okay, so let's import the namespace our class. So our plain class to act like a database table, it must be encapsulated with the DB set. So like this, we have to register all our table classes inside of our database context. Okay, so that it can operate or query the respective tables using the EF code. Okay, so next thing is let's add the connection string for my database. So to add our connection string, let's go to mine is development only, right? So if you observe appsetting.json, here there are two files, appsetting.json, development.json. So this development means nothing but the environmental variable that depends upon the environmental variable. So for the developers, this development is the environment variable. If you have stage like a testing site, okay, then you have to create one more JSON file like appsettings.json.stage.json file. For production, you will have appsettings.production.json file. Okay, so I am going to add in this file a connection. Okay, these are the properties. So in this connection string object, this connection string property must be match like this only because it is the framework understandable property. Okay, and inside I have created one more property like my old DB context connection. So this is the custom property. You can give any name. Okay, so to that property I am assigning my connection string. So here I am using local database, SQL local database. So to communicate with my database. Okay. Next thing is we are done with registering our connection string. Next thing is I need to register my old DB context into startup class services. So that I can inject my old DB context class anywhere I want in my application. Okay. So let's register it in the startup service. So like this, we need to register our DB context. So let's import the namespaces. Okay. So here, if you observe in the options, I am registering my old DB context. So these are the options will be injected into the constructor. Okay, and passed to the parent class. Okay. So these options get injected when the instance of the my old DB context is created. Okay, so that's it. We have established our database context and the tables, and our framework is Inti framework is ready to communicate with the database. So this is called code first approach because I am using uh, code first means with the C# classes I am using existing DBs. Okay, so next thing is we need to create our controller. So controller is the interface module where it contains all the action methods. Those action methods are nothing but uh, per request, particular action method gets executed. Okay, so let's create the controller. So for that, what we will do in the controllers, let's add a new controller like. Okay, so this is a normal plain class. To make it as a controller class, we need to inherit controller base, I believe. Okay, now our class is a controller class. Okay, and it should be decorated with API controller. So this attribute is optional, but it is recommended because it will provide some additional features to the developers regarding the API only, because this is also controller base also derives from MVC. By decorating with API controller attribute, it will give more additional features like versioning, something more relevant features. If you don't define okay, this API controller on applying web API versions, okay, you will receive some errors. So it is recommended to use the API controller. But without this also, it will work, but we are going to lose some additional features. Okay. And here we are decorated with the route attribute. Okay. So this defines the attribute routing. There are two types of routing, like convention based routing. Convention based routing means you can define the routes here instead of here. And if you define on top of the controller like attribute, that is called attribute routing. Most preferred nowadays is in web APIs attribute routing only. Okay. So inside of attribute routing, there is an expression. This is not a simple string. It is an expression. So it is saying like take the controller name as the path. Okay, up to where? Up to here, framework will consider as a up to here, framework will consider as a path of the route. Okay. So this is the like expression. If you want, you can directly specify. If you want to specify directly, then you can specify like this. Okay, like this also fine. So here route means gadgets only. Gadgets are my own. Anything. It need not to match with the controller name. Okay, anything you can define. But most conventional or standard way is to give a expression like the controller. Okay. So now first inject the our database context into our controller. Okay. Okay, we have injected our DB context into our controller. Now let's what we will do. I have some dummy data into my database. So first what we will do, we will do read operation. Okay, for read operation, let's create an action method. Okay, okay, this is my action method. So iAction result is the default response type in Web API, most commonly or recommended way we can use, or you can also use the type of the response. So my type is like sorry, gadgets, right? I can define type of the response also. Okay, but most uh, recommended way is to use iAction result. So I want this action method to be invoked for HTTP GET request only. So to do that, I can decorate my action method with HTTP GET. And now I want to define some route path of my action method. Here we have defined first path of the URL like gadgets slash. After the gadget slash, this path will be checked. Okay, so I can specify like all. Okay, now route is like domain slash gadgets slash all. Okay, so here I want to get all the data of gadgets, right? So what I will do, gadgets, my old DB context. Here you can access the property gadgets. From here, you can call like to list. Okay, it is a link extension. So what it will do, it will generate a SQL query that run against our server. So that query is like select star from gadget. Like this query will be generated by the from this link expression. Okay. So now I got all the gadgets. So I want to return the data. So to return the data as a successful return, we have a method like OK. So OK represents, let's see, Microsoft 8-bit.NET status code dot 200 OK. So in general, API terminology that is independent of any programming language. OK means status 200. Status 200 means successful response from the server. Okay. So I can pass my gadgets data here. So that's it. That is my read operation action method. So let's test it. See, now we got gadgets controller module here, and here you can see, click on it and click on try. Okay, and click on execute. So now our request is executing. See, this is my URL framed. See here, route, controller route, and the action method route. Okay, here I can see code, status code, response status code 200, and response body JSON. See all of my payload here. Okay, so that is how read operation works. Okay, now we have learned read operation. Now what we will do, we will create a new record. For that, we will create a new action method like uh, create operation. So let's understand the create operation. Okay, so let me create one more action method, create. Okay, so this method should have a payload, right? So client will post some data to the server, so that data will be read from this input parameter. Okay, this is my action method, and this is the payload going to received by the action method. And posting a data means that request is HTTP post protocol, that comes under HTTP post protocol. So we need to define like HTTP post. So this action method only executes for HTTP post request. And let's also define our route. Okay, our route will be create. Okay. Now what we can do, my old DB context and access gadgets. In the gadgets we'll have method like add. So pass our payload here. Now what we have to do means from the gadgets we can call a method like save changes. So what it will do, it will uh, runs the insert query based on the add command. So this add will command nothing but it will generate a query like insert into SQL query, insert into gadgets. So like that query will be generated by this add command. Okay, save changes will trigger means that will runs against our SQL server. Okay, so what I will do, I will return okay response with my gadgets data new record ID. Initially, when a user posted data, ID is zero. ID is zero means that is new record. So once the data is saved into the database, that ID value get populated. Okay. So if we get a ID in the response, that indicates our create action is successful. Okay. So let's save it and test it. And now you can see our new request is appearing here. So first what I will do, click here. Okay. So this is the query and this is the request body. This is the payload we need to send to the server. So let's test it. Try out. When you click on try out, so we no need to specify the ID because ID will always be zero whether we send or not. Okay. I will say save like Lenovo ThinkPad 100. Okay. Brand Lenovo. I will say cost is like some thousand and type is laptop. Okay. So I have prepared my payload to my request. So this is a post request you can see here. So let's execute it. See post request and post and 200 status and in response body C ID, our new record ID, right? That means our create action method is successfully executed. So let's go to our get all gadgets API call and check over there whether our record is it there or not. So it will be last record, I think. See here, 600, Lenovo ThinkPad 100 and Lenovo and cost laptop. So our record has been successfully saved into the database. Means our create operation is successful. Okay. So we are done with read and create. Next thing is update. Okay. So let's create a new action method for update as well. So public action result update gadget. So update also user need to send the payload which data to be updated. Okay. Only difference between update and add is in gadgets for update there will be a record ID because record ID is nothing but some unique identifier, nothing but a primary key. It should have primary key because based on that primary key only our NT framework going to update the data. Okay, in create primary key is zero, so that means it is meaning to create a new record. Okay, if ID is greater than zero, that means for the record need to be updated. Okay, and so for uh, update record, the most or ideal HTTP protocol type is HTTP put. Okay, so it is the most recommended protocol to define on the update action method. If you want, you can use post as well. That is not at all wrong. But there is a specific protocol type that has been given, so we can use that. Okay. If you want, post also use it for update as well. Okay. Please keep that in mind. So I can say directly on gadget on context only, and I can pass my gadgets and my old DB save change. So one thing you need to remember is uh, this approach will updates all properties of the that particular record. Okay, so please remember that. If you want partial update, that is different type. That is a different way to implement. So this update is like a complete update. So it is update, right? So I can return a response method like no content. See, this is updating. I don't want to return anything. Okay, so I want to return like a status code 204. Okay, so general standards of HTTP put. That means update what type of response it can give means either 200, either OK or 204, no content. Both are meaningful response for the update. Already we have seen OK, right? So here I am using no content. Okay, so I think I am good. So let's run and test our update operation. See, I got update and put. I forgot to define my route type, so let's define route also. Update. So let's reload the page. I got path. Okay. So here I need to pass something. So let me update my latest record. So for that, what I will do, I will go to my get request. Okay. So from this get request, I'm taking the object of my latest record. Okay. I'm going to my put operation. So here I want to change name to 500 and some cost is like 50,000. Okay. So now I want to update these records. So let's execute. So it's executed and see 204 status code. That is for no content. Okay. That means our request is successful. So let's go to our get request and execute again. And see Lenovo ThinkPad 500 and 5000. My data is successfully updated. That means our update operation also successful. Okay. So let's implement our final operation, that is delete operation. Okay. So for delete operation, public I action delete gadget, and it should have input parameter like ID value, some unique identifier. Okay. So this is my action method for delete, and the most recommended HTTP protocol type is HTTP delete. Okay. It should be decorated with the HTTP delete, and route will be like delete. Okay. So first what I will do, I will get the data from the database, record from the database. So I can query like where ID equal to ID and first or default. So here I am querying, it generates a select query. What type of query means? Select top one star from gadgets where ID equal to ID. So this kind of SQL statement will be generated by this line of LINQ query. Okay. So if data exists, not if data not exist means equal to null. Record is not found. Then I can return a response like not found. Okay, for not for response. Okay. If at all, if the record data is exist, then we have to delete it. To do that, gadgets, and you can use method like remove. Okay, and pass the gadget to delete, and we can call save changes. And finally, we can represent no content. 204 means successful. So that's our delete operation. Okay, so here ID will be taken from the query parameter if the our route is like that. But you can do one more way, that is like I can give a dynamic expression in the route as well. Okay, now this is this one ID. Now our route will be gadget slash delete slash ID. So that ID will be grabbed into this method as input parameter by default by the framework. If you don't specify here, it will expect the ID in the query parameter. Okay. Either way, you can use either query parameter or within the route. So I am using within the route. So let's save it. And let's test. So let me test my latest record. So for that I need a ID, right? So let's get the ID. So what is the last record? 6000 in 1002. So this is our delete operation. So go over there. Okay. Click on try it out. Here pass ID value and click. So first let's check without in a record that is not existing our database. So let me define this. This is not in my database. So now I should get 404. See 404 because not found. That record is not found. Okay. So now let's give me appropriate ID. See now I got 204. That means successfully deleted. To test that, this record must not be exist when I request again the my get request. So let's see. See 7000 is last record, 1600 is gone. Okay. So that means my delete operation also successfully implemented. So that's it, guys. I think this video has delivered some useful information to you all regarding the web API CRUD operation. So if you like my video, please do subscribe to my channel, and we will meet you soon with a new videos. Until then, signing off.